Well, good day, everybody. We have a lot to talk about today. There's a lot of price action. We had a little bit of a Bitcoin sell-off here. Crypto looked like it might have wanted to start to roll over in the short term, but things seem to be holding pretty stable. This seems to be a very controlled sell-off. So I have a lot of thoughts today. What I want to do is I want to give an update on the altcoin season, where we're at, what we can be watching for next with altcoins, and where we should be focusing. So hi, this is Brandon with Crypto Trades and Tech. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Let's dive right in. So take a look here. This is my Bitcoin chart that we've been using. This bottom trend line is the main trend line I was looking at. We've lost it. So in my book, we are now a very short-term bearish. I did preemptively, if you recall, I got out of my leverage trades here. I do believe that if you're in leverage trades, as we bounce back up into this, it's probably going to act as resistance. So you might want to take that opportunity just to evaluate where you're at. Now, I'm not telling anybody this is not financial advice. I should always start with that in my videos. It's not financial advice. If you listen to me, you'll inevitably end up living in a van down by the river. This is what my advice is good for. All right, but in all seriousness, let's get back to looking at things. So I have this on the daily level. I have a really important level. Jordan called it out in his live stream as 51.5. And it's come to pretty close here. It's the bottom of this bearish candle after this impulse here, the first this bearish candle here before a recovery. It's 51,590 on my chart. We got below it. We've bounced back above it. This is going to act as resistance over this weekend. The futures expire Friday. I do have other important areas of support at 48,358 and 45,203 on my chart. Now Heath, yesterday in his update video, pointed out this level, and I thought about putting it on my chart. And when I have Heath on as a guest this Sunday night, I'm going to ask him to coach us on why he found that level. But you see what Heath found, that level right there at 53.78 is where I put it. That's exactly where we bounced. That's what Heath identified last night while I had a price action coming into there. So I'll give Heath a big props on that call there. Now I do have some updated charts I want to share with you. I'm on the daily here. So this is our original chart I was working on when we did our wedge and our blast off. So I've gone back to that early time frame, and we were working on these trend lines a long time ago. I don't know if you guys remember, but I've gone back and rebuilt those trend lines, and I've extended them forward here now to see if we can't find some trend lines that are going to work for this new price action. So this is what I'm looking at here. And again, I've drawn in this zone, the same top level that Heath identified right there. I picked that out as the top of that zone. And then the very top of the the Tesla announcement spike, I've picked it as the bottom of our buy zone. I think there's going to be a lot of buyers in this entire zone. But notice that the 50-day moving average, we've hit it twice now. And I'm starting to wonder if the 50-day moving average is going to be the new 120-day moving average for this cycle. Again, the money printer and the asset inflation broke a lot of our indicators. So now, perhaps, we can be looking at the 50-day instead of the 120-day as our sell-off point. We'll see as we move forward here. So we're a little bit in uncharted territory because of that. So here's another chart showing some fib extension levels from the bottom of our January sell-off to the peak of the February, and then to the bottom of the March sell-off, the ABC pattern that we see there. Here's some Fibonacci levels for you guys to look at. I don't use the Fibonacci too much for actual trading. I'm not as good at it as I'd like to be to use it for actionable levels, but we see that the bodies of those dailies did close right at that 618 level, very predictably, 61,152. Let me just mark these on here for you guys, these levels, so you can see the numbers. 57,716, those two should be resistance as we resume. 54,371. Then we've got a level down here, which should come in as support at 49,941. And then our worst case scenario, according to this, really is 43,070. Should we get below 43,070, you would definitely be bearish again. All right. And one more observation. These are just observations. I don't use these for actionable trades. I'm just trying to take in as much information as I can and weed out what I think is important and what's not important. But as we take a look at this chart here, we're back on our Bitstamp feed. You can see the last cycle, this was the bear market right here. And then these were the 6 major peaks that we had impulses that we had in the last bull market cycle. And you notice, obviously, again, they peaked up to around 80 to 90. And then the bottom of these peaks was between 60 and 50, right? Roughly 50 to 60, very roughly, is what the RSI would cool off to before the next impulse. So now you see over here that we've had kind of a double or almost a triple impulse without being completely reset. And because price action has slowed down, RSI is a momentum indicator. So as long as price action slows down, it can go sideways and RSI will drift right back here to the middle. So RSI is getting reset here as we have this little bit of a sell-off and consolidation on the weekly RSI. This is something a lot of traders do watch, crypto traders. So the retail crowd might be more apt to get back involved once we drop back below 62 here. And some institutions do watch this as well, of course. All right, but I said earlier in our Discord chat that if you guys know what a tell is in poker, it's when you can tell that somebody's maybe kind of bluffing, and that there's or you can kind of tell what they really have in their hand, whether they're bluffing or not, right? And for me, the market is kind of giving us a bit of a tell that with this last little small correction in Bitcoin, we haven't seen an increase in Bitcoin dominance. So I think that this is kind of signaling to us that we're not going to have a major sell-off ahead of us. It's likely just some consolidation. And B, that alt season is not done yet. We have never hit our targets on alt season. You see that in DeFi summer brought the Bitcoin dominance all the way down to 57. And this early alt season phase hasn't even brought Bitcoin below 60. So I'd definitely be looking for at least it to fail out of the 61 level and drop down to 57, which means that alts are going to be getting stronger versus Bitcoin, and then maybe even all the way down to 50. I think the month of April could bring that type of action. If that were to occur, be very, very careful to continue watching, because we could get a bounce here, or if we go all the way down here, a bounce here. But at some point, we're going to get a bit of a correction in all crypto, and this is going to spike when a real correction happens. And then when Bitcoin makes its parabolic peak, it's also going to spike as Bitcoin sucks the life out of the alts. But the good news is that I do think that alt season is looking like it's going to continue. As you can see here, we have this downtrend, and we're kind of consolidating above this support. So I'm expecting the support to break and alts to pick up some steam here, maybe early next month. Now, what I really want to give you guys some updates on is Cardano. So I was watching the Cardano 360 presentation. I'm going to drag up here on my screen a screenshot I took from that presentation of the current roadmap. Now, the Alonzo hard fork is really what we're looking for. The Alonzo hard fork is what's going to bring the computational layer fully online, so smart contracts will be fully online. And you can see here, we're looking at the Pioneers testnet post Alonzo hard fork to go live maybe late April, early May. That's very good. So that's going to give us a lot of opportunity for hype and things to keep Cardano very bullish through the middle of this cycle here. However, technically, Cardano has broken down out of a key trend line that I have. It's followed almost the exact same thing as Bitcoin. It did fall out of this prime trend line I had watched. I had planned to either take profit. I was hoping for a spike up to $2 to $3, somewhere in that range. We never got there. We hit 149. I probably should have thought about taking profit. I took profit on trades, obviously, but not on my actual HODL position. I was intending to move some of my Cardano back, and all my alts, really, Ethereum, Polkadot, Chainlink, and Cardano. I was planning to rotate a portion of those back into Bitcoin here when we get to the peak of this early alt season phase. For those of you that are new here, I just want to tell you what the alt season phases are one more time real quick. So in studying the price action from Bitcoin and Ethereum in the last bull market cycle, you're going to see this is the percentage gain. The bottom, the standard candles that we have are Bitcoin's price action, and this blue color is Ethereum's price action. So what I've always been looking for was this early phase through here, and where the alts, what I call it, there was a rotation phase where Bitcoin actually sold off over here, really. And Bitcoin sold off, but Ethereum pumped. And then Bitcoin made some new highs, and Ethereum really pumped ahead of it. So I called this first little section here the rotation, and then this next section over here the FOMO phase. And then you can see Ethereum was basically flat and was definitely a huge consolidation pattern, but it was losing as Bitcoin was going up. Ethereum was pretty flat, and so you see here at this point, Ethereum had actually lost a lot of ground versus Bitcoin specifically. Now, Ethereum's price did pretty well, but the main thing is also Ethereum sold off much harder. So this is what I'm going to call the summer doldrums, which I think will be coming. When we get our first real kind of nasty 40% correction, the alts might sell off 50 or 60%. So I want to be in Bitcoin and out of alts just to prevent myself on the downside there. And then also, if we move over here to the later phase, you can see that as Bitcoin makes its parabolic top, Ethereum is lagging. So Bitcoin is making a huge move and Ethereum is making a much smaller move. Still following, but it's losing ground. So Bitcoin's more sucking the life out of the alts than they're following. And then as Bitcoin sells off, Ethereum pumped. Okay? So the phases are the rotation phase early, which we're done with that. I think we're in the middle of the FOMO phase, which might go through the end of next month. And then we're going to have a slow period. Whenever Bitcoin hits a specific level, maybe close to $100,000, and has a really hard sell-off, a really hard rejection of some significant level, then the alts are going to sell off much harder. And we were worried that might be happening at 60,000. I do not think it is happening just yet. And then the last phase. This is the sell-off phase. I call this the bear trap phase, right? And this is the parabolic phase for Bitcoin at the end here, and then the post-parabolic altcoin rotation. All right, I put those phases up here on the screen for you guys. All right, so we're done with the rotation phase. I think we're in the middle of the FOMO phase. We were looking very closely to see if we were done with this, but I think we've had 2 legs up. I think we get one more big impulse up here in the month of April probably, and then we'll be into the sell-off phase. Whenever Bitcoin, I think it's somewhere between $80,000 and $100,000, we're going to see a big sell-off, a big rejection in Bitcoin as it makes kind of an early move, and then the alts are going to sell off much harder. But this is ultimately going to be a bear trap as Bitcoin then turns around, finds support, turns around, climbs its way back, and then after it climbs its way back, it'll enter its parabolic phase. And this phase right here is going to suck the life out of the alts. So we want to be trading alts in these 2 phases. We want to be in Bitcoin these 2 phases. And then when we exit Bitcoin, there's going to be a short window of time when Bitcoin has this initial sell-off that the alts might go parabolic. We'll follow all that closely. All right. Now, all that said, again, sorry for the longer video today. All that said, what I'm really looking for is what type of developments are the major Ethereum competitor projects that I've been tracking going to have coming into that last phase, the BTC sell-off when the alts really pump. And what I see happening lining up is Cardano is going to have a lot of hype on their mainnet. I was concerned. I heard some news that the full Goguen mainnet, the Alonzo hard fork for the mainnet, not just the test, the Pioneers testnet, was going to be delayed until maybe early 2022. But it looks like it may be on time for the fall. If not, there will be significant developments, and major projects will still have time to announce that they're moving to Cardano, probably ahead of that last altcoin parabolic phase. So I think we're looking good for Cardano to have plenty of events, plenty of news in the pipeline to keep it pumping and hyped. Polkadot. The Kusama, as far as I know, I haven't seen an update on a date for the Kusama slot auctions. Now, if you don't know, on Polkadot, so Kusama is Polkadot's like testnet network and the early adopted network, and this is where side projects that don't get selected for the parachain, for the main chain, and any project doesn't want to pay the cost of being on the main chain, will end up as on the Kusama network. Now, the Kusama network, it's slot. So both networks, the sharded network, and there's only so many side chains available per the parent sharding network, right? So the auctions for selecting the Kusama network slots should be announced pretty much any day now, and all of those projects should be the ones that then most of them will end up moving over to the to an official parachain, or many of them will move to the main Polkadot parachain slots. But there'll be an auction for that after the Kusama auction, and it's a rotation of auctions. So here's a quick diagram of how those parachain slot auctions are rolling auctions every 6 months. So for Polkadot, now why did it break down here? I don't have a good answer. I haven't been able to get to look into this too terribly much. I think it was just a technical break. We were talking about this. It just moved this direction. It doesn't have any news right now that's keeping it kicking. It moved a lot. It's been very strong. If you look at Polkadot Bitcoin chart, we fell under. This was the prior all-time high. We broke above it. We fell under it. So let's see if we consolidate under it before we retake that level, or we'll have to just watch this closely what happens with Polkadot. But there's plenty of bullish news coming up for Polkadot. I thought Polkadot was going to pump further, but it may consolidate here underneath this price level before resuming, which would, of course, be healthy as long as we don't have some sort of negative event going on here, which I don't know of any. Now, the timing of the Polkadot auctions, because we don't know yet when the Kusama auction date is, as far as I'm aware, I don't know when that date is. I can't predict, kind of the hype season around Polkadot and the related projects. When we get that date, that's going to cause a lot of hype. When the auctions happen, that's going to cause a lot of hype. And then, subsequent news about projects is going to continue to cause a rolling a hype train, basically, for Polkadot and all the projects developing on it. So there's plenty of opportunity to hype. I think we're in a lull for Polkadot right now as we wait for that Kusama auction date. And if somebody knows about it and I've missed it, I'd love to find out. Now, back to news here on Ethereum. Vitalik has been propping up Optimism, which will release its Layer 2 scaling solution here soon. They're one of the early ones to come out. Now, of course, Loopring has been out for a while, and Loopring is especially an exchange, and it's really for transaction scaling off-chain. Optimism is going to give more ability to do full smart contract off-chain scaling. So that's very good, as will Matic and now Polygon, as it's called, will also allow for additional. But Optimism is going to be going live here soon, which is going to help Ethereum scaling quite a bit, along with EIP-1559 and the burn mechanism that's going to introduce. I think in the short term here, in the next couple of months, I'm really looking for Ethereum to probably outgain its competitors, namely Cardano and Polkadot, because the hype cycle seems to currently favor Ethereum. And Ethereum is making moves to fight off, its competitors, and really ultimately to alleviate its biggest enemy is itself and the gas fees and the congestion on the network. So if they can alleviate those problems, then we'll get some good hype. And specifically taking a look at Ethereum to Bitcoin, you see we're right above this level I have identified as a pretty important level. It's not the most important of levels, but you see this downtrend we've been in. It's been consolidating right above that level that we had picked. It's basically 0.03 Satoshis, and 0.04 is another important level up here that got basically rejected. But there it is right there. If we can hold this level and make some resumption up here, I think that the bullish news, the reason Ethereum has been down is because of all the negative press about the congestion on the network. And if, between EIP-1559 and some of these Layer 2 scaling solutions which are coming, as the network gets relieved of the congestion issues and scaling starts to kick in, then you'll see that I believe that this is going to bounce back and maybe give us some really good trading opportunity here as well. Lastly, I forgot to bring this article up. I'm going to bring it up now. But the Alonzo hard fork is what we're looking for. So that's when you're looking for Cardano news, you want to laser focus on anything that talks about the Alonzo hard fork, which is what's going to enable that computational layer for the Pioneers testnet. And so this is going to be really, really a big event. This will be bigger than the Marius hard fork. So I think people thought the Marius hard fork and the multi-asset on the settlement layer was a big deal. This is a bigger deal. This is the biggest one I've been waiting for years. This is the hard fork that we've been waiting for. Now, of course, it is just the Pioneers testnet, but that's going to generate very similar to this is basically the equivalent of Kusama's auction for Polkadot, and all the projects that are building on Cardano will have the ability to start to really make headway and make announcements and roll things out because they'll be on the testnet, which the Pioneers testnet is fairly equivalent to the Kusama network, right? So I think Polkadot and Cardano are both on track to really generate a lot of hype. In the short term, Ethereum has more coming because it's been losing ground versus its competitors a little bit on the charts, and with scaling coming for Ethereum and EIP-1559. Both of those things, I think, in the short term, next 2 to 3 months, are going to possibly cause Ethereum to outperform. So let's be looking for that on the charts. That's going to create a lot of opportunities for us. And then maybe later in the cycle, but the Alonzo hard fork, is going to be a significant event that I'm looking forward to very much as well. So our window of time for Ethereum may be more like a month. But nonetheless, I think there's really, really good things happening for all of the projects that I hold a large stake in personally, which is Ethereum, Cardano, and Polkadot. And then Chainlink as well continues to have just more partnerships, more and more projects leveraging a Chainlink. So I think while Chainlink's been underperforming, I do think that their time is coming technically, and we'll have a nice price spike for Chainlink probably as well, but it has been lagging compared to our other major projects that we've been tracking. But okay, thank you all so much for tuning into this update. I hope this has been helpful. I'll be looking for us to go live. Heath and I are planning to go live Sunday night. I'm going to have Heath coach me. I'm going to ask him the dumb questions that I'm sure many of you have wondered in listening to his explanations. Heath from Trade Talk is going to be coaching me up on finding levels, and we're going to be talking about the market open too. The market's going to open Sunday night. We're going to take a fresh look at what's going on across the markets and give both of our opinions on that. And of course, as always, this is not financial advice. I am not your financial advisor. If you listen to anything I say, you're going to end up living in a van down by the river. Take care, everybody.